Amnesty International has called for a fair and impartial investigation into the alleged unlawful killings that took place during the protests in Nepal. Now, it has urged accountability for all those who were responsible. In fact, the human rights organizations say that the widespread failures by Nepal's law enforcement agencies in handling the protests resulted in unlawful killings. It also cited what it describes as unnecessary and excessive use of force by the agencies on the ground. Now, on Monday, Amnesty International released an investigative report titled, "We went there to raise our voice, not to be killed." It detailed the alleged atrocities committed during the Gen Z demonstrations, and the report, in fact, documents the deadly crackdown on largely peaceful demonstrators in Kathmandu on September 8th, during which security forces allegedly used escalating and ultimately lethal force, including live ammunition. Now, viewers, according to the organization, security forces in fact used water cannons and sometimes deploying high-pressure jets at a very close range, raising serious concerns over necessity and also the proportionality under international human rights norms. Remember, these were all students in Nepal who were protesting. Amnesty International says that such a misuse of less lethal weapons, in fact, violates international standards, including the UN basic principles on the use of force and firearms by law enforcement officials, the UN human rights guidance on less lethal weapons, as well as Nepal's Local Administration Act. Now, viewers, the organization's findings here are based on eyewitness accounts, photo and video evidence, interviews with medical personnel, protesters, observers, organizers, as well as journalists. The report also reveals systemic failures in policing, including the lack of attempts to exhaust non-violent means before resorting to force. Amnesty also said that these actions clearly violated the rights to freedom of peaceful assembly and expression, which is guaranteed under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Now, viewers, the Gen Z uprising of September 8th and 9th in Nepal, which triggered major political shifts in the country, resulted in at least 76 deaths and ultimately forced the then Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign. An interim government was formed soon after, and the parliament was dissolved. And the post-mortem reports of those killed in the Kathmandu Valley confirmed the deaths were caused by bullet wounds to the head and chest. Police regulations, in fact, allow firing only below the knee as a last resort to control crowds, which again has raised further concerns about excessive force which was used on these protesters. In fact, the use of lethal weapons during the crackdown also led to the resignation of then Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak. With the parliament resolved and election scheduled for March 2026, at this point, Nepal is navigating a turbulent political transition. Remember, following 5 days of deliberation, it was former Chief Justice Sheila Karki who was appointed as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, and she subsequently recommended the dissolution of the parliament and in fact is now mandated to oversee the March 5th, 2026 elections.